Hey, what's up? Hope you're doing great. This one isn't a massive balance shake or a new mode drop. It's the kind of update that quietly fixes the tiny technical hiccups that end up annoying people mid-match, especially when you're relying on precise timing or the feel of a weapon. The patch notes make that clear. The focus is squarely on player control quirks that slipped through after the previous major update, and the fixes are pretty targeted. If you played right after the big January update, you might have noticed some odd behavior with blaster shots. Explosions seemed to interact with terrain in ways that felt a little off, sometimes registering hits where you didn't expect them. That's one of the things this hotfix addresses. The explosion hit detection for blasters when they hit terrain or other objects was slightly larger than intended, and the team tightened that up. It's the kind of invisible correction that affects split-second decisions in battle. So while it doesn't change the weapon's visuals or how it fires, it changes the consequences in close quarters play, which competitive and casual players alike will feel. Another peculiar symptom some players reported was unexpected controller vibration when certain blaster shots hit walls or map geometry. That little rumble can be satisfying when it's linked to a splat, but it was happening in contexts where it shouldn't have. Basically, a tactile bug that gave misleading feedback. The patch removes those erroneous vibrations, so your controller's feedback should now better match what's actually happening in the game world. That may sound minor, but clear sensory feedback is a surprisingly big part of aiming and reaction. The audio side got attention too. Two of the special guns, S-Blast 91 and S-Blast 92, were playing the same sound effect when their projectiles hit terrain as when they exploded in the air, which made certain interactions sound wrong, and sometimes made it harder to judge what happened at a glance or by ear. The update separates those audio cues so you'll hear the correct sound depending on whether the shot detonates mid-air or against a surface. It's a neat polish that helps you parse the chaos of a match faster. Putting this patch in context, it's clearly meant to be a quick corrective measure after the more sweeping changes that came in the prior update, which added new features like Flow Aura and made a number of weapon adjustments across several series. That earlier update was more transformational. It shifted weapon parameters, changed shot speeds, adjusted ink consumption, and altered special weapon behaviors. And a few unintended side effects or edge case bugs popped up once the changes hit the live servers. The hotfix is Nintendo patching those immediate issues, so the broader balance and feature updates can settle in without weird control or feedback problems getting in the way. If you're wondering how to get the patch, the usual process applies. Keep your Nintendo Switch connected to the internet and start the game, or check for updates manually from the game's icon. The update will download and install. It's quick to apply and shouldn't enter playtime beyond the usual download and install. Now, what does this mean for your matches? For most players, it'll feel like a subtle smoothing of rough edges. If you main a blaster or one of the S-Blast variants, you'll probably notice more predictable interactions with geometry and clearer audio and haptic signals when you land shots. That predictability matters when you're trying to time a bomb or judge whether a blob of ink actually connected with an opponent through cover. For players who don't use those tools frequently, the patch is less about changing your toolkit and more about making the general feel of the battlefield cleaner and more honest. The developers clearly prioritized making sure the game's feedback loops, visuals, sounds, and controller vibration are consistent with actual game events, which is always a good thing for both learning and high-level play. For creators out there making content or analysts breaking down weapon performance, the hotfix means you'll want to be cautious when comparing footage recorded before and after the patch. Small differences in hit detection or audio cues can look like gameplay changes, even when the patch is only correcting a bug. If you're testing strategies or conducting frame-by-frame comparisons, keep the version in mind so your data stays apples to apples. The same goes for community discussions. What felt off in early post-update matches may no longer be present after this hotfix, so reevaluations might be necessary. Ultimately, this kind of maintenance update is a sign the development team is actively monitoring how the larger changes affected actual gameplay and stepping in quickly to fix emergent problems. It's not the flashiest update, but fixing the small things that interfere with play is essential. It's the kind of care that keeps matches feeling fair and consistent. If you were frustrated by any of the issues this patch addresses, you'll probably breathe a small sigh of relief next time you're lining up a precise blaster shot or listening for the telltale sound of an S-Blast hitting a surface. All right, that's the rundown. If you noticed any of those glitches in your own matches, this patch should make things a bit smoother. Either way, it's worth keeping an eye on official announcements for any further notes, since fixes like this often follow closely after big changes so that the experience stays sharp for everyone.